No one can piss on this day.
What better way to round out my first week here at Revision 3 than with a review? So, the game I've chosen, it has some cultural significance to it. It really does highlight the aesthetic wonders of a smooth, bald head. And it also plays off 2012's favorite number, 47. It's already been used in politics as a form of existential alienation, and in this game, with the character Agent 47, it's a different form of existential alienation, the kind that involves death. It's Hitman Absolution. After 6 years off, Agent 47 has finally returned to duty, and we could not be happier to see his beautiful, bald, barcoded head. Of course, the circumstances of his return are less than ideal. His former handler and the series' biggest co-star, Diana Burnwood, has turned her back on the agency that used to employ them, and so she must be eliminated. To make matters worse, she's kidnapped Victoria, a mysterious young girl who the agency desperately wants to recover. Hitman Absolution is without a doubt the most cinematic entry in the series. The game's 20 missions take 47 through twists and turns that have him exploring gritty downtown Chicago, a rural South Dakota, strip clubs, weapon manufacturing plants, and much more. Along the way, you're going to meet some of the most memorable and sadistic characters we've seen in the game in a long, long time.
That ain't no private eye. That's a ghost. That's a myth. That's a hitman.
IO Interactive has always managed to handle the dark narrative of professionally killing people with a sense of humor, and that is absolutely present in Absolution. You're going to overhear a guard reveling in joy before they're thrown to their death. You're going to see a hopeless shoe salesman desperately trying to peddle his product, and you're even going to see a bunch of rubber duckies. Those guys in Copenhagen certainly have a tone.
Nice place you got here. Hey, thanks, bro. I like it.
The game is surprisingly well written too. David Bateson reprises his role as 47 and is joined by an all-star cast including Powers Booth, Keith Carradine, and Vivica Fox. The dialogue sounds authentic, and everything feels like a mix between Quentin Tarantino and David Fincher, with maybe a dash of David Lynch thrown in for good measure.
Sheriff's office. How can I help you?
If you're worried that IO has spent the last 6 years redefining how a Hitman game is supposed to play, worry not. The spirit of 47 is alive and well in Hitman Absolution, and the huge sandbox levels have never been more huge or more sandboxy. The basics remain. Explore a level and take out your assassination target while trying to remain as incognito as possible. Of course, the beauty of Hitman is in just how many ways there are to accomplish your goal. Are you the silent assassin who chooses to poison a drug dealer's stash? Or maybe you're the angel of death type who prefer to take your target out from afar with a giant sniper rifle. Hitman Absolution gives you that choice and countless others as you explore massive levels peppered with potential disguises, improvised weapons, and hazardous, accident-prone environments. Sometimes that choice can be a little overwhelming, and there's some assassination techniques that we never would have found without trial and error. Still, the game's level design is masterful. Environments are extremely varied, and they're almost always more open-ended than they initially seem. Experimentation and exploration is usually rewarded with creative kill opportunities or quick escapes. Absolution tries to make all of this less intimidating with the brand new Instinct system. Instinct is 47's pseudo-supernatural ability that allows him to detect assassination targets in a crowd, fool an enemy into buying his disguise, and, most importantly, provide contextual clues on how to creatively handle the situation. Most of the world is interactive, but without Instinct, it can be hard to tell which food stands have anonymous stir-fry and which have the ultra-poisonous fugu fish, for instance. It's a feature that will be heavily used by players that are new to the genre and likely derided by veteran Hitman fans. Thankfully, Instinct can be turned off if you don't want to play it. In fact, nearly all of the game's assistants can be turned off across the 5 different difficulties, culminating in the purest mode, which gives you only a crosshair. The game won't even tell you how many more bullets you have left. Instinct also allows you to utilize point shooting, which slows down the game and allows 47 to pick off a group of enemies with laser precision. It's a feature that makes shooting a much more viable way to get through the level if you want to play that way. However, we found that the game sends mixed messages about different play styles. Every mission has several challenges and a final score, which you see on screen as you complete various objectives. Of course, if you start killing non-targets, even stealthily, points are taken away from your score in big red text that comes across as, "You're doing this wrong." Still, this is a game with stealthy roots, so we can't be upset that Silent Assassin is the ultimate way to play. More frustrating was the dodgy checkpointing system and the inability to save anywhere. Some levels can be massive, and the checkpoint locations tend to be off the beaten path and easy to miss entirely. Having to restart an entire level can be infuriating, but more importantly, it limits experimentation, which is at the heart of the series. Of course, the great conceits of the game are here. It still seems silly and insane that no one will recognize a giant bald fugitive just because he's wearing a costume, but it never really takes you out of the game. The AI's behavior has been enhanced in Absolution, but of course, it still carries the same type of conceits inherent to the genre. Guards will spend far too long investigating a broken bottle, allowing 47 to slip past unnoticed. It can look a little funny, but this is the type of compromise that makes a game like this playable, and most importantly, fun. Visually, the game is stunning. Much of the 6 years off were spent creating the all-new Glacier 2 engine, and the results are very impressive. The levels are diverse and rendered in brilliant detail, from a vibrant greenhouse to a dilapidated hotel. Textures are crisp and intricately drawn, and the scale is shocking. There are hundreds of people on screen at one time in several points throughout the game. All of this is amplified by the game's heavy use of effects, from depth of field to bloom lighting to film grain, and it all looks great. It's one of the best looking games this year, and we can only imagine what the engine will do when it's running on next-gen hardware. And although this is the first Hitman game without a score by Jesper Kyd, the audio does not suffer. The soundtrack is great, and the sound design is even more impressive. You're going to stumble across hundreds of conversations from NPCs, all of which make you feel like you're walking through a world that actually exists, and not just one that revolves around your character.
Man, he's got some balls. Wouldn't catch me messing around with electricity in a flooded pit. Not for $1 million, no sir. Shit.
Yeah, that's Joe for you. Hey, he's like a living legend downtown. Would you believe he was struck by lightning once?
As I mentioned earlier, this game is big. There are 20 missions, each of which are broken up into multiple parts and can end up taking you upwards of an hour. How long the game will take you depends on your play style, but we spent more than 30 hours with the primary campaign. On top of that, IO has added a robust challenge system that will keep you trying to accomplish missions in different ways. There's also asynchronous multiplayer in the form of leaderboards and the all-new Contracts mode. Contracts allow you to replay missions from the game and challenge your friends to assassinate the target in the same way to try and beat your score. It's a really cool idea. It's almost like Hitman Horse, and it should keep you occupied if you're looking to maximize your $60. Even with the instinct system, the game is going to be a tough sell to people who aren't into the genre. IO has added ways to make it more accessible, and it is. But if you don't have the patience or interest in playing a stealth game, it isn't for you. For everyone else, however, Hitman Absolution is a breath of fresh air. It has strong narrative and a great cast, it's visually impressive, has tons of replay value, and it fully delivers on the promise of a modern Hitman game. We say, buy it.
Yee-haw! Ha! I'll tell you, I don't ordinarily yee-haw, but this is a yee-haw! Christmas!
There you have it. Hitman Absolution, a good game. For all the beautiful baldies out there, I recommend just putting on some extra sheen when you sit down to play it. It really enhances the experience. Also, if you guys want more on Hitman Absolution, definitely check out my interview with the design director over at IO Interactive. It's a great interview. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it gives some really interesting insight into how you can approach the game and the various hidden objectives that are within it. Also, there's a top 5 assassinations from the team over at IO. I did not know half of these existed. They're enlightening in many, many ways. Well, there you have it. If you want more reviews, if you want any more of the game content here at Rev3 Games, really easy. You subscribe. Go to youtube.com/Rev3Games. You can also go to iTunes, and of course, you can go to revision3.com. It's been a very fun week. I'll see you next week as well, and I might have an opinion or two.